Good morning. Happy Sunday. Beautiful morning. Peaceful morning. Hope you've had a good weekend. Having a good weekend. Hope you're having a good weekend. It's just the start of Sunday. So good morning to you. Welcome to the Daily Dose, episode number 77. My name is Mark Avens. You already know that. You're on my Facebook page. I am the Daily Dose guy, I guess. 77 episodes later, 77 days later. On another point, I am an online fitness coach, if you didn't know. Local here in Jacksonville area. I don't know whether or not you're chiming in from Jacksonville or the beaches. And I'm an online fitness coach. I've been in the health and fitness industry for about 25 years. Crazy to think. More than half my life. And I am the creator of the Lean Body Breakthrough, and that is my flagship program, if you will. It's an online coaching program that's designed specifically for men and women over 40 who are looking to really lose weight. And I say that because it's what draws people in, but it's really to lose weight and to learn how to take it off and keep it off for good, and to do so without long workouts and impossible diets. But that's not what I'm really here to share with you. Just wanted to give you a little background about me. I am a husband and a dad. I have 2 teenagers. My wife, my beautiful wife of 8, we've known each other for 20 years now. I've been married for 18. And yeah, that's about all about me. And it's Sunday morning. It's calm. It's in my backyard. And I'm going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the courage it takes to change. I don't know why, just change, needing change in this world, needing change in lives, helping people with changing their health on a daily basis. That word just came up, resonated with me this morning on my walk, and actually in the last couple of days. And what I was realizing, and just to tell you what the Daily Dose is, so what you can expect if this is your very first time. The Daily Dose, I started during this kind of start to the coronavirus, and even though a lot of people are coming out of it, I just decided to continue, because even despite all the lockdown and all the craziness and everything going on in the world, honestly, I really don't know everything that's going on, because I just choose to keep some of the stuff and guard my heart. But the point of the Daily Dose is to purely give you a dose of encouragement in a world, in a time that it's just easy to be discouraged. And not just on Sunday, every day of the week, every moment of the day, you can be so distracted. And I know I can, for sure. I'll be the first to put my hand up and be distracted towards being discouraged and getting anxious, getting stressed, and getting pissed off, and getting just mad at people, and just wanted to shut down everything. So instead, I'm choosing something different. I'm typically an encouraging guy, so I figured, why not do a daily show? So anyway, here we are, and I want to share with you the courage it takes to change. So while you're listening, to let me know you're there, I see the eyeballs. Don't worry, I won't call you out. I'm not going to do anything like that. I just want to purely, but I got some good notes here today, because I'm really encouraged. Encouraged, right? Think about, in the word being encouraged, courage comes in that, right? Courage. To be encouraged means to provide and help, to give people courage. So, man, pretty appropriate. So the courage it takes to change. It truly does take a lot of courage. And you think of the type of changes maybe you've made in just the last couple of weeks, maybe in the last couple of months, maybe in the last couple of years, maybe over your entire life. And I wrote some things down, and I have some notes. So just so you know, I'm an old guy, so I keep notes. In fact, I have all 77 episodes right here. All here, 77 episodes, and I write notes. So again, some of this is prepared just because I get inspired, and I want to share that with you. But I wrote down some things about what takes courage. Well, I just shared with me being married for 20 years. It takes courage to ask somebody to marry you. It takes courage to take that next step in a relationship and say, I want to be with this person the rest of my life. And I know that's not necessarily the case for everyone, because people get divorced. But I would say is that takes courage. Marriage takes courage. Takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to step out of maybe being single and playing the field, right? And dating and all that stuff. But it also takes a lot of courage to get married and say, this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life, right? And I'm not going to get into marriage or any of that kind of stuff. Just wanted to share with you things that take courage. It takes courage to start a family. I also shared with you that we started a family when we got married, and we have 2 teenagers, and it's hard. It's not easy. I got a almost 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. And it takes courage as a parent. I don't know if you can feel me on this. If you're a parent at any level, any age, it takes a lot of courage to be a parent and to start a family, like to be able to do that. It takes courage. It also takes courage. This is a big one. It takes courage not to try to keep up with what everybody else is doing in this world. It takes courage not to try to keep up with the Joneses, right? Like, oh, they're doing this with their family and their kids, and they're doing this with their money. It's really, really, really hard. And it does take a lot of courage to not to try and keep up with what everybody else is doing. It takes courage, now back into my people, it takes a lot of courage for people to lose weight or to go on, let's just say what people say is I'm going on a diet. It takes a lot of courage to go on a diet, doesn't it? It takes a lot of courage. But it also, in the same respect, and I have to just be blunt about it, it also, and this is not me calling or fat shaming anybody, but it does take a lot of courage to stay fat. It does. It takes a lot of courage, let's just say overweight, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to beat around the bush being overweight, and I'm just saying it takes a lot of courage to be overweight and be fat. It just does. It takes a lot of courage. And for a lot of different reasons, right? It takes courage from being ridiculed, shamed, fat shamed, right? It takes a lot of courage to realize that your health is at jeopardy, to having lots of problems, issues, doctor's visits, medications. That takes a lot of courage. You always think, oh, it takes a lot of courage to lose the weight, right? Oh, it takes courage to start a program and get healthy. But at the same time, doesn't it take a lot of courage to stay unhealthy, to stay overweight? Because you're kind of subjecting yourself and your body and your health and maybe your mindset to a lot of things that just aren't so favorable. But it does take courage, despite that. You can honestly think that it pretty much takes courage to do everything. It even takes courage to do nothing, if you think about that. It takes a lot of courage if you do nothing about stuff. So just keep that in mind. Here's another one that's resonated with me. It takes a lot of courage, the way I see it. Maybe you resonate with this. It takes a whole lot of courage to watch the news right now. It takes a lot of courage, and you're like, what? It doesn't. I just watch the news. I want to stay informed. It takes a lot of courage to subject your mind and your thoughts and your heart to what you see on the news. It also takes a lot. I even think it takes more courage. I think it takes a lot of courage to not watch the news. I think it takes a lot of courage. And it goes back to, oh, but everybody is telling me you need to watch this, you need to see this, you need to see all this stuff going on in the world. And my wife and I were on a walk this morning, and we were talking about some of the things we've heard, not on the news, because you'll never hear the good things happening, because people honestly are not drawn to that. But there's a lot of good things. In fact, I have one of my coaches that shared a story. One of my business coaches shared a personal story about him working in a food kitchen, and it really was it was significant in the respect that I was encouraged by him. It took courage for him not just to serve, but to be around 3 or 4 times the amount of people who were struggling and suffering, and really just made it a point to share like how fortunate a lot of us really are, despite maybe the inconveniences that we have, right? Because there's a lot of people that are they're more than inconvenienced, right? They're put out of their homes, put out of jobs, can't put food on the table, or standing online and never thought they'd be there on a soup kitchen line for their family. And that takes courage too, right? It takes courage to put your pride away and say, I got to feed my family, and I don't have a job, and I don't have money. So just wanted to think about, while there's lots of things the news can draw your attention to, there's lots of good things happening in this world too. And I'm encouraged by that as well. So, everything takes courage, I think, if we can just come down to it. But at the end of the day, and this is the point, is while everything takes courage, the outcomes are not always favorable. Because it could take courage to remain unhealthy and out of shape and overweight. But there's repercussions to that. Obviously, that's not anything. And I want to be encouraging, because the things that bring joy to your life, bring maybe peace or a sense of serenity, made me think of that word serenity, which you don't think of using the word serenity, or, serene and at peace and finding peace and joy. And for me, because it is Sunday, and to just kind of share a little bit of my faith story, is that I didn't really understand what that meant until I developed and found this relationship that I started with God about 10 years ago. And it was really interesting, because a friend of mine who lives here, and he actually has a whole ministry, and you probably heard of him, Carrie Cross, and he inspired me. Yes, the Carrie Cross guy, I'm sure you've heard of them. And he's done stuff for me before. And I saw a post, and it encouraged me, because it was on he makes these crosses. It's so awesome. He makes these crosses out of wood, and he has like cutouts, and then you can put prayers on them. They're really, really cool. Just inspiring, very encouraging if you are a man or woman of faith. And he had one, and it had like the serenity prayer. And I've seen it and heard of it before, and it just made me think as far as the courage it takes to change. And that's the point, is to change. And I was like, man, I wish I was really courageous to make that. I could say it was all my courage that I was able to make the changes in my life. And to be honest with you, things that that required the most courage from me didn't come from me. And I wanted to share this with you. You might have heard of it. And I actually had to look it up because honestly, I wish I could tell you that I knew, hey, what's going on, Cindy and Christine? I wish I could tell you that I knew this prayer and who it was from, but I actually looked it up. And it's Reinhold Niebuhr. He's an American theologian. You can go look it up. And I'm going to read it real quick. And if you haven't heard of it, I'm sure maybe if you're a Christian, or even if you've maybe seen it on a coffee cup, or maybe, you know, on a prayer wall or something to that effect. Maybe you've seen it in social media. But the serenity prayer is, God, give me grace to accept with serenity. That's where I got that word. To accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. And I'll tell you what, that right there says it all. The serenity that I feel now, the peace that I have. Now, is everything right in the world? Absolutely not. Am I blind to what's going on in the world? Absolutely not. But does it mean that I can't have peace and serenity today in my world and in my heart? No, I can actually have the serenity and peace. And this prayer is such a good one. So I recommend, my encouragement to you is, whether you have faith or not, is to take a look at that prayer. And the two big things I got from this, just now it's resonating me, is the first word is God, and asking, give me the grace. And grace is a gift. It's asking for this grace, mercy and grace and love, this sense of serenity and peace that can come only from God. And he says, give me, you're asking, you have to ask for it. What that means is you have to talk to God and ask him. Say, God, will you give me the peace in mind? Now, this isn't biblical. I think it does come from the Bible somewhere, but the prayer itself, he's a theologian and wrote it, and it just makes sense. So my caption, the courage it takes to change, sometimes it's hard because we're trying to find the courage from our own efforts and our own self to change. And sometimes that's just not enough, because I don't know about you, but maybe back when we're talking about in your relationships, in your marriage, in your family life, in, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, and maybe trying to lose weight, in watching the news or not watching news, looking at politics, doing all those things. Are you looking for the courage to maybe change as far as that sort of stuff goes from your own efforts? Because I can tell you, if I were to rely on my own efforts to change and my own courage, now don't get me wrong, I feel like I'm a pretty courageous guy, but I feel like even more so because God's empowered me to the grace and love that he has for me to focus on the things that I can change in my life. And again, I'm going to read this one more time because I think it's so amazing. Give me the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed. I know there's things that I don't have the power to change, but he does say that he can give you the courage to change the things which should be changed. So if you are looking to get married and you want to, or maybe you're in a relationship that kind of sucks right now and you're trying to change that, and you're saying, oh, if I can just get the courage up to be better at this, or to get the courage up to do this, or get the courage up to lose weight, to get the courage up to do this. It takes courage. But sometimes the courage from your own efforts isn't enough. And I can tell you what the other thing is pretty cool is, after that part of that prayer, after the courage to change the things that which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. And I think that's the biggest thing for maybe me in my walk in the past 10 years, is I feel like God's really bestowing and instilling in me this wisdom. And I'm not the wisest person. Shoot, I know there's lots of people that are way wiser than me. But I can say is that what I'm learning from him, he's teaching me, is to be more courageous when he starts to give me more wisdom, and he starts to change from the inside out. And that's something that I don't want to waste, because time is precious in this world. Here's the thing. It takes courage not to change, but I think it takes more courage to change, and even more so the courage to realize the best change comes when it's not from just your own efforts. And that's my encouragement to you. I'm just going to leave you with this. This is the last part. And I hope you found this well. And listen, all I do this for is to provide encouragement with you. So sure, if you want to get a sense to know who I am, but to spend time with me, I know this is the time you can't get back in your life. So I really just want to tell you how much I appreciate it. I appreciate you. If nobody said that they love you, I love you. And I'm not just saying this, is that I think if we just all said that to each other a little bit more often, from our strangers to our neighbors, to our friends, to our family members, the words "I love you," there's power in that. So I just want to share with you this last bit here. It's Ephesians 2:8, verses 8 through 10. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not and I'm sure most of you Christians have already heard this. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourself, it is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. So I think sometimes we look for change and it to be satisfying for ourselves. And if you look in this scripture, and which is pretty awesome, is that it's a lot of the stuff that we're trying to be courageous about isn't for us, it's for others. It's for other people in our world, like in our marriage, in our families, in our livelihoods, in our health. While we may be doing some of those things for us, that a lot of things come from others. And to realize that you are God's handiwork. Here at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me whether you have faith or not. I hope that you maybe find that at some point, and if I can be a help to help you find that, and God can use me to help you. But just so you know, you're God's handiwork. He created you in Christ Jesus to do good works. He created you on purpose and for a purpose. So don't ever forget that. So as you go into this work, this work week or however you have, today's Sunday, and as you get prepared, and maybe you need to find the courage, or you're looking for the courage, maybe today is the day that you don't just seek that courage from your own efforts. That's my encouragement to you, because I can tell you, as courageous as I felt in my life prior to having a relationship with God, and even in the things I was changing, it's nothing compared to the transformational change that he's leaning in on me and giving me and providing me for my world and my walk and my relationships and my family and my health and all the things that matter, and my ability to have the courage to change the things that I can change, and accept with serenity and peace the things that I can't change. So that's all I have for you. If you found this helpful, I want you to share this with somebody, share this with a friend. Feel free to repost this. Let me know if you catch me on the replay. If you've enjoyed this, I love that feedback, those little endorphin hits. I appreciate you. I love you. Have a blessed Sunday. Take care. We'll see you.